Well, good morning, all. Good morning, Roy. Thank you. Good morning. So who in here uses CSS? Who writes CSS? That's close to everyone, I guess. So who of you uses a preprocessor, like Sass or Less or Stylus? I would say about 80% of those. So that pretty much means that it's not the future of CSS is CSS, but the present of CSS is CSS. The present of CSS is preprocessors and post-processors. I am Roy, as Bruce said. If you want to mention me on Twitter, I'm at Roy there. It should be easy to remember. I write content on advancedset.com. You can sign up for a free mailing list there. And these slides are available at roy.io/futurecss. You can download them there. And I'm working on people that's it. So first, a word on preprocessors versus post-processors. Because these two words are being used somewhat interchangeably nowadays, but they're actually two very different things. So what's in the name? They're both preprocessors. Post-processing does not exist, basically. So it's great for marketing. It's great for tools like PostCSS and CSS Next to distinguish themselves from tools like Sass and Less by calling them post-processors. But they're all doing pre-processing. There's a file interpreted once at build time. You're building your code, you're compiling your code. That's straight into CSS, and that's called pre-processing. That said, I'll just use the standard definition for post-processing today so we don't get all tangled up in definition hell. So pre-processing to me today is going to be Sass, Less, tools like that, and post-processing is going to be post-CSS, CSS Next, auto prefixer, etc. Now the big difference between the two. Preprocessors extend the CSS specification. They are explicit and they add syntactic sugar to the CSS syntax. When I open a preprocessor file, like I open a Sass file, a .scss file for instance, I immediately see which bits are actual CSS and which bits are going to be Sass. Because Sass has its own syntax easily distinguished from CSS syntax. There is no confusion between the two. Post-processors, however, modify the CSS specification, like post-CSS and auto-prefixer. The CSS type could be modified. You could use regular CSS, then under the hood, post-CSS would replace some values. Another difference is that preprocessors are largely auto-documented. You can see what's being preprocessed. You can see what's going on. And that makes it, well, self-documenting. You can open a file as a new developer in your team. You can immediately see this is happening, this is Sass, this is Sass. Not so much for post-processing. So let's take a look at a really silly example. Let's say I want to replace all instances of the color red by something else. Let's say blue. Don't ask me why, but we can, so we're going to do it. So on top of Sass, what you can do there is you could write myself a replace color function that takes a single argument, which is a color red, and then replace it with blue. I open this file as a new developer, and I immediately see, well, this is replacing the color, obviously. The bottom could be code that's being used by PostCSS. I could write a PostCSS plugin that takes regular CSS syntax, color red, and then converts this into color blue. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. Because the next developer, which is new in 3 months' time, is going to open this file and just assume that text color is going to be red and not blue. We don't expect some magic to go on in our post-processing process. That said, it's okay to make things up. Both preprocessors and post-processors, they both speak CSS. So you can use preprocessor, take its output, feed that into a post-processor, and then use that output to serve to your end user. So post-processing is great for prefixing. If you need friendly prefixes, auto-prefixer is a great tool. Progressive enhancement, cross-browser compatibility. linting to make sure that your code adheres to your internal coding standards. While preprocessors are great for creating reusable components that are built upon existing CSS concepts. They offer a certain layer of abstraction. So it's okay to use them both at the same time. Don't use either to make magic though. Like the color red thing, you can do some crazy stuff with Sass too if you want to. I'm not bashing both CSS here, which has valid use cases. The most important thing to do is to write intention review in CSS. That means that when you're writing your Sass code, it's okay to check your CSS once in a while to make sure that what you expect from the compiler to do that actually is the compiler saying CSS or that. You can have 10 lines of Sass code generate thousands of lines of CSS code. It's good to know when that's going on in your code base. And leverage the power of native CSS. There's this calc function notation in CSS, which is super awesome. It's a feature that we can't mimic with a preprocessor or a postprocessor. But we could just write a Sass function called calc. Then we use the calc function notation. You actually wouldn't be using CSS, but you'd be using your custom Sass function. That's really confusing because you're hijacking native CSS. So leverage the power of CSS whenever you can. So the variables are all used. Sass used to be awesome because it has variables. And now we have variables in CSS, so it's not fun anymore. So this talk is about programming in your CSS. It is not about using Sass as some polyfill to add vendor prefixes. This is about going batshit crazy and doing stuff you really, really shouldn't be doing. So to me, CSS is a machine language. Maybe not for a traditional definition. And this may contradict what I just said. Take a look at your CSS once in a while. I look at my CSS as little as possible. I think CSS is an horrendously ugly language. I don't feel CSS was meant for users, for humans to write CSS code. Like selectors and then repeating them again when you want to nest something. And, it's just a whole bunch of typing, like too much typing. I see people nodding yes, yes. Because we're lazy. We're developers, so we're bound to be lazy. We use tools to make it easier to work quickly. And then we take like months to get it installed in our development pipeline, but still. So CSS, to me, is too annoying. So I love using Sass to get over the hurdle of being annoyed and instead be creative. Because creativity is better than repetition. We can stop copy and paste it and have Sass or less or something else take care of looping and things like that. Sass can handle the repetitive tasks for me. It's a computer. That's the thing computers are supposed to do, right? I can do complex animations with Sass. Try to do them manually. It is easier to have Sass generate that when I want to modify my animation. It's way easier to have Sass recalculate all that offsets and percentages and things like that. Configuration, trumps source and replace. When I want to change that animation, I don't want to go searching for stuff and replacing things or using regular expressions, God forbid, to do crazy things. When I want to switch layouts from left to right to right to left for certain regions in the world, I don't want to do that manually. I want to use a single code base, change a single variable, like text direction. It now runs from the right to the left, and I want my CSS to change all over the place, like magic. Sass can help us do that. And most importantly, it's better to have fun than to be frustrated. I used to be frustrated, and now I'm still frustrated. People know me like, yeah, he's a frustrated guy. But writing that should be fun. We should get those creative juices flowing. We should be able to do crazy stuff and then take a step back and decide, well, maybe that's too crazy. We'll meet somewhere in the middle. but it gives us tools to do fun stuff and iterate quickly. Sass are great for multi-developers too. Both CSS and preprocessors like Sass have a fairly limited syntax. So it's pretty easy for people to learn. So for instance, researchers who want to present research data in animated form, for instance, they can easily do that, fairly easily do that, using CSS and Sass. Because it's pretty easy to learn compared to like real programming languages. So with that said, let's look at some code. Because it's great to talk about Sass, it's better to be actually looking at Sass. There is a disclaimer though. The following code was copied and pasted by trained monkeys. Do not try to know. The code you're about to see will fit one of either three categories. The first category is going to be, wow, didn't know you could do that. That is really useful. The second one is going to be, that is an interesting proof of concept. We can probably improve upon that. The third category is going to be, that is stupid crazy. I'm not going to tell you which example belongs to which category. So we're going to see that when I look into our production code in a few months' time. It's going to be interesting. So now I'm going to do something tricky, and that is switching screens and going off mirroring and things like that. Let me enhance it a bit. But you can't read this because of lights as well. There's also a screen sitting in the back. You can just look at the screen in the back. This one's probably better readable than the last one. Is this okay for people? Yes. Who can't see anything? Remove your hands. Okay. So I have this use case for something that I've been working on. Let me find the right one here. Colors. So I was working on a project that needed to have different colors. Different colors we'll talk about. We had this graph with multiple lines. It could be 5 lines or 10 lines or whatever. And each line needed to have its own unique color. And it needed to be as unique as possible. So we needed 3 colors. We want them to be evenly distributed across a color wheel. So we're looking at a color wheel here, a little bit of color theory. You have RGB color, and you may know that from CSS, and CSS you also have HSL color, hue, saturation, and lightness. But you see here the color wheel is new. So the color wheel starts at 0 degrees on top, that's the color red. When you go down, and 8 degrees, that's going to be this cyan at the bottom, and then each degree in between. So going around the color wheel, you're in 60 degrees, you're in 6 different colors, and you're back at 0. Still with me? Yes, nothing. Real good. So we're like, how to do this programmatically in Sass? How to get X colors that are evenly distributed across this color wheel? That's something we can do in just like 3 lines of Sass. And someone told me, like, there's one thing you should never ever do, and that is live code on stage. Because stuff just won't compile, you're missing the sound tone, people are looking at you. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm sure I can do. I can pull it off. So I'm going to replace these comments, say magic by, well, magic sprinkled on top, which is Sass. So first the setup. I have this whole bunch of boxes here, and they all have class names swatch-0 through 99. So it's 100 different boxes. So let's see how to do this like in as little lines as possible. So let's have a start color. Let's start at red. Let's say we have a number of colors. Let's say start with 3 colors. Guess what? Okay. And then the number of degrees we need to travel to get to the next unique color. So there's 360 degrees on a color wheel, 360 divided by 3, something that Sass can handle for me. Let's do it like this, we can actually change the number of colors later. Okay. So for I, in 0, 2, already failing. So you get a syntax from 0 on from 0 to count. So I would say it's fairly easy to learn Sass syntax. I've been doing it for 8 years and I still fail at it. So let's first have the class name. So let's go to the swatch dash, then have the actual I in there. Then set the background to, and here's the fun part, the Sass adjust you function. So Sass adjust you, which says from a certain starting color, in our case which is red, from there travel a certain number of degrees. So we're going to take I, that's like our current iteration, 0, 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2 in our case. Take I, multiply that by degrees, hit S, pray, then get compiled. Oh yeah. Exactly what I was counting on. Obviously, this is a lot of code to do like 3 different colors. I could have done this manually. Let's say tomorrow I need, I don't know, 15 different colors. I just change the value of this one variable, and it's done. These 15 colors are distributed evenly across the color wheel. These are as unique as possible. Of course, we all love rainbows. Who doesn't love rainbows? So let's say we're going to get 100 colors, and there we are. This has been instrumental in our project to effectively work with these graphs, who could have between 3 to 50 different lines by using these colors and using the power of Sass to do this. Okay, that was fun. Was it fun? Because I have more color stuff. Is there anyone in here epileptic? Is there anyone who gets a seizure from flashing screens? Please don't be shy or close your eyes. I don't want to be like, have part in that. It's slow, it's like a 5-second animation. So in 5 seconds, we have an animation that consists of 360 different steps that moves across the color wheel. With CSS, let me show you the CSS I wrote for you. It's this. It was super easy. This took me like 3 minutes and a bunch of copy pasting. Of course not, it's Sass. So it's this. It's first it's having the starting color. I set up the animation for the body element. That's just standard stuff, the animation. And this is the magic. Again, same as before. For I, from 0 through 360, which is the whole thing round. I take your iteration, multiply that by 0.27777, which is, yes, that's 100 divided by 360. So end up at 100% eventually, and then the same exercise with setting the background color. Now, of course, if you want to make it really funky, or maybe even less. So it's like 10:20 in the morning, and it's already disco at SmartWeb. I'm going to close this because I'm feeling like tingly. Okay. So that's one thing that Sass is great for color manipulation. Is there more? Likely. Right to left layouts. I discussed them briefly just a few minutes ago. it's real easy to change the website from left to right to left using Sass, or managing that using Sass. So you can do that without Sass. If you put a lot of thought into building your website beforehand, you can be using flow to left or positioning from the right in your CSS. If you want to switch it to right to left later, you would need to use flex blocks or display inline block to have things flow together instead of using flows. But usually, right to left will be an afterthought. That's okay. Sass can fix that. So let's take a look at the website for Frontiers. Frontiers is a Dutch organization of professional front-end developers, a non-profit. And that looks like this. Let me zoom out a bit for you. So it has a menu on the left, main content in the middle, and then a sidebar on the right. So I did some preparation. So what I'm doing here, I'm just setting the direction to use the directions stored in the dir variable. So now this is going to say LTR. When I change this to right to left, it's going to say right to left. Just fix that, and it's broken. That's because this website wasn't built with needing a right to left layout in the future in mind. So we can fix it with Sass as well. Just like my model for today, you can fix it with Sass. It's like the duct tape of CSS. So I wrote this little library. Feel free to download it at the slide URL I mentioned earlier, which does some smart stuff, simple stuff actually, for handling right to left layouts. It will help you switch things around. For instance, there's this LTR shorthand function. That we would use for like margin 0, 15 pixels, 20 pixels, 30 pixels. That's like top right, bottom left. When using right to left, you want to switch the second and fourth values, which you want to switch left to right and right to left, right? So this is a fun one. The if function in Sass. Just a side note, the if function is Sass's equivalent to the ternary operator. Ternary operator you may not know by name, but it's a thing that says, if this is true, do this, and otherwise do Y. You may know this in PHP or JavaScript or something like that. Sass had a bit less elegant solution, which is this if function that takes 3 arguments. The first one is something that if this value is true, then return the second argument, and otherwise return the third argument. So, if a website is left to right, which is just setting this variable, if so, then just return the values as is, because they're in the right order first anyway. If it's using right to left, then switch things around. From this list of values, you see is 1, 4, 3, 2. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we're switching number 4 and number 2. No need to get into this any deeper, but it's a fun library, you can use this kind of stuff. Also, to do the opposite, like the opposite of left is going to be right and the other way around. So I have this prepared, but I also tend to do this live partially. The last time I did this, and some people in here were there, and they remember that there was a massive failure. So let's try again. What could possibly go wrong? So this is a matter of search and replace. I'm just looking for a left, stuff that said left right now. What margin left should be margin right. In this case, it doesn't really matter. Here it does. This should be margin right. So let's do some clever copy pasting. There's this left. I want to replace that with LTR opposite. That's the function I came up with. Opposite of left. Replace all. The same with right. Replace all. Save this. Still works. Almost there. Not mostly there. Let's see if there are any more left in there. No, I think I fixed it all. I did some pre-fixing earlier. It's like partially off. So now it's mostly right to left. The menus have flipped. We even turned this little arrow around like 180 degrees. Used to point to the left, now points to the right. Everything gets switched. And I just easily want to change it back again. Change this to left to right and back, or back again. So I know companies that do international websites. There's another named energy drink that does, which gives you wings, that does, they have like a global presence, but they have websites in Europe as well as in the Middle East. And they use a single code base to manage both their left to right and right to left layouts. When they change the logo or change the font style, they do it in this one code base and then just roll it out globally instead of having to maintain and copy paste this change to their right to left style sheet. So who in here actually does right to left? That's two. Christian probably won't be using this, so I hope it'll be useful to you. Sure. Okay, that's right to left. Let's talk about architecture. The way you structure your CSS. And wow, do we have many ways to structure our CSS? There's BAM, SMAX, OOCSS, Atomic CSS. Then we all came up with our own way, which is better than all the rest. That's what you guys like. There's two things developers like. Coming with their own CMS systems and their own front-end frameworks architecture. So what can we do here? And you can make this a bit smaller. Here we are. So we could use extends. This is some way to structure your CSS. So you create a bunch of placeholders, Sass. That's the percent sign, Sass placeholder. This will not be rendered in CSS unless we actually extend it within a selector that is not placeholder. We have a box and a highlight, and they even have some HTML for this. This is my awesome website. As you can see, I'm the best designer ever. So this has all these elements, and then we tie them together by saying, for the introduction, extend the placeholder, highlight, and alternative font. Now doing this results in making it a sans serif font and font style like italic, and makes it red as well. Then the testimonial is being pulled out because it gets the extensive full placeholder. If I remove this one, it will just be like this. So I know some people who structure their Sass like this. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. It's a fun exercise to see the possibilities and then make an informed decision on what is the right thing to do. So you can do it like this. You could also use a, not this one. Also use a map, pretty much the same thing. But you can have Sass generate the CSS for you. So doing this, you're creating your own DSL, your domain-specific language in Sass. So we don't write any CSS. We have this configuration map, which has for a key, it says, use this class name, create a selector using this class name, .introduction, and then extend that one with the placeholders, highlight, alternative font. The blog post, extend that one with the box placeholder. And from there, it's a loop in Sass that actually creates the class name and extends it. Okay, that's the way of doing things, right? So that's moving away from CSS and moving to like a real DSL. Before we get into the next phase of how you could uglify your CSS architecture, you take a step back and look at some stuff you can do with grids and ASCII art in Sass. So let's see, let's talk about rockets. Who does not like rockets? See, everyone was wrong. Why does this move? This can move from real quick. So this is a rocket, basically. I'll do that again because it's a rocket. And the rocket follows a certain trajectory. This is CSS animation that moves the rocket around this canvas. I want to be able to easily change the trajectory of the rocket without needing to rewrite my CSS animation keyframes. There's, of course, one obvious way to do that, and that is by using STR. So I have this grid here of axes, and then the animation for the rocket is based on where the X is. So let's just move a few of them around. So let's take these and move them up here. Save that file, rerun. I'll go back again. But obviously it's the most straightforward way of creating an animation in CSS. I'm thinking, rockets don't move like this. Rockets don't move standing up straight. Rockets move like this, move smoothly. They point to the direction they're going. Right? Because that's what rockets do. So how would I do this in Sass? Oh, I got one. UDFA arrows, obviously. Like what other way you can come up with to both indicate position and rotation? So my Sass goes through this and then creates this crazy animation. So let me talk through the Sass real quick. First the previous one, because that's a good one to get started with. There's a few things we set up. That's the width of my grid. So the whole thing is fluid. If you use percentages, you can just resize your screen, rotate your phone, the rocket will still work. Because mobile rockets. So for the grid width, column width, we divide by 100% by the number of characters in a line, which is 40 in this case. And the row height is going to be 100% divided by the number of rows. That's like we now know each position our arrow can be at. And I'm a huge fan of using Sass functions. Sass functions are widely underused, but we use the RGBA function, maybe some list functions. But string functions, for instance. In this case, I'm using string index, a function that will tell me at which point in a string a certain character appears. So in this case, I'm looking for the X character. I want to know which column it is in. But when I know, I just multiply the position by the width of the column. Because one column is 2.5% wide. Multiply that with the position 10, and we know the arrow should appear 25% from the left. That's it. It's basically just this. Agreed, it gets more complicated when using those UDFA arrows. Because we can check where a arrow appears in a string. We don't know, because it can be one either 8 characters, pointing up, pointing on northeast, pointing east, things like that. So where I would wrote a custom function, index of character. Well, what does that one do? That just slices through the string. So the string is 40 characters long. It's going to be spaced into one of them. It's not going to be a space, but an arrow. So we use string slice, which we say get me the first character in this string. If it's a space, carry on. Get me the second character in the string. If it's a space, carry on. Until we hit something that is not a space, we're going to assume that we made no typos, but we only use proper arrows. If it's not a space, it's going to be an arrow. Now return the actual character. Like it's going to be this arrow and appears at this position. Then we need to know the rotation. And luckily UDFA features allow you to have a map where the keys are actually arrows. This is like a map in Sass is pretty much an associative array. We have keys on the left and values on the right. I just look up the rotation, and based on that, fly the thing, add a transform to do the rotation. And from there it's magic. I'm just going to rerun this thing. This was so awesome. Wonderful. So let's take this concept of having this ASCII art-like setup and try to apply that to a situation where we want to abstract our architecture even more. So let's take a look at this example again. The extents architecture. Same thing again. But now it looks like this. Doesn't really fit in a single line, but that's okay. Here's my configuration, which on the first row it has all the placeholders I could extend. And in the left column it has all the selectors I want to create. And then we tie the two together by just drawing a little X in this matrix where we want to link stuff. So let's say I want to remove the highlight from the introduction. Then from the matrix that links introduction to highlight, I remove this X here, and it's gone, like the red text is gone. Maybe I want to have the blog post in red as well. So I add a little X here, save the thing, and everything at the bottom has turned red as well. This is taking extraction too far, by the way. I'm not saying you should do this. It's a great thought experiment to see, well, we have backend developers who screw up both our HTML and our CSS. Pushing here. What if we don't tell them, like, don't touch the CSS, but only add class names to HTML? What if we tell them, do not touch the HTML, do not touch the CSS? You have these modules in our living style guide. You're only allowed to touch this configuration matrix and link elements, like style elements from our style guide, link those two elements in the HTML. You want to change styling, remove an X, put it somewhere else. Totally abstracting any front end away from what other people working with our code are doing. Alright, that's the architecture thing. I spoke about modeling scientific data earlier. If you want to research something that would benefit from a visual comparison using animation, you can do it in Sass as well. Well, you can do it in CSS as well, but it's more work, basically. So I want to visualize sunrise and sunset times. Apparently this is Chrome only. So this is sun rising and sun setting. At the bottom left corner, there's the time running, time of day. Then for each month, sun starts coming up at 6 in the summer. Then you can see daylight savings time and date in November. That's like a huge difference between October and November. So I went to some website with data about sunrise and sunset times. Copy pasted that and then had Sass generate this thing. So what does this do? Setting things up. So here I have all these sunrise and sunset times. I have this map on the left. There's a number for the month, 1 to 12, and there's the sunrise time and the sunset time. This is for the 15th of the month, and I'm just copy pasting this. So first I create a list of times. So I create a list that has every minute of the day in it with a corresponding percentage. Like if it's 9:23 in the morning, at which percentage of the day is behind us? I want to calculate that for the animation because it goes from 0 to 100%. There's two loops, hours from 0 up to and including 23, minutes 0 up to and including 59. And you get this list for every minute, so that's 1,440 different minutes in a day. So calculate the position where the sun could be at percentage-wise. Then we do magic stuff. Then use map get to link an actual time to a percentage. So you just fetch the information from the map. And we add this animation. And it does this. While working on this, there was something else that was way more interesting that I found out. And that's about that little clock in the left corner. So that one uses a before pseudo element, and then uses the content property to set a certain text. So 00 colon 00. I wanted to animate that. Thing is, you can't animate the content property. As in, you can change it. It's set. And then I found a, say to myself, pretty clever way to fix this, because I'm pretty happy with this. Let me just look at the compiled CSS. It's probably the easiest. All the times you're in here like this, since this is a monospaced font, we can use decrease or increase the negative text indentation. That is something we can animate. To hide the rest and just move the text in that box. So if you ever want to animate the content property for an element and it's monospaced, it has a fixed width, this would be a way to do so. Now I don't want to do this manually. So I have Sass do this, set this whole long string, and have Sass calculate all these keyframes that set that negative text indentation. So even if you come up with this solution using plain CSS, there's not really a way you can pull this off, because there's too much typing and too much to keep track of. That's where Sass really, really shines. Alright. Let's do one final crazy one, because we can, okay? Let's take SPR to the next level. Let's draw the Sass logo. This is Sass logo, consisting of many dots. This is one single element with multiple box shadows. Each dot is one box shadow belonging to an element. What does it look like in CSS or in Sass? Let's see. There will be this. This actual Sass logo in SPR. Then we iterate through that and I'm tipping over. Iterate through that and then add all those dots to this single one dots element. So in CSS it looks like this. That's a lot of dots. Multiple box shadows, yay! So that's fun. That was thinking. You can do it with SVG as well. The thing is, I can't actually write SVG in CSS. Sure, if it was a separate file, I would modify it. But I cannot embed it in other CSS. But I can write my SVG in JavaScript, but I don't want to do JavaScript. So what if I wrote my JavaScript in Sass, and then ran as little JavaScript as possible to actually run the code in the end? Can we do that? Sure we can. So this is using SVG. Looks the same, slightly better rendering, creating an SVG file. So it looks like this, the same thing. Only now we write a bunch of JavaScript in our Sass, add that to a huge array, like a huge list, add all these dots. In the end, we put this string in the content property for a before pseudo element on the body. So in CSS, it looks like this. So the content before, body before with the content property, and there's stuff in here. This is a lot of stuff. This is 901, 970 characters. So almost 902,000 characters on this single line with JavaScript to build this SVG file. This also illustrates how Sass can seriously bloat your file size if you don't pay attention. Because this is a 8 kilobyte Sass file, which compiles into a 902 kilobyte CSS file. This is like 110% bigger. So you may not want to use this in production. And then the HTML is pretty evil. It takes the computed style of document body, gets the content for the before pseudo element, does some substring magic to remove quotes, and then run that to JavaScript's eval function. So JavaScript evaluates the JavaScript that we wrote in Sass. Was it a good thing to do? Taught me a lot about Sass functions, taught me a lot about strings, taught me a lot about SVG, taught me about how to crash the Sass compiler because it couldn't compile this file. It also taught me to recognize when I'm taking things too far, taking a step back, and finding like the middle ground. This is a good thing. This is a good spot to be in. This makes Sass, to me, totally awesome. Being able to do this crazy stuff for fun in the evenings, and then later on think, I'm going to use some of this to solve my actual problems. So if you don't use Sass yet, feel enlightened, go out there, use it, be happier, be a better person, and save the world. If you have any questions about Sass, I'd be happy to take them now.
We have a question for Roy about ASCII ARM Sass and live coding and
Being flabbergasted.
yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's utterly shocked, huh?
I feel like everyone's like, close your mouth, flies may come in.